Huzzah and well met to all of my summoners and pet classes who might find a lot of use out of the Allay. Welcome to a video that is in response to a comment that somebody left on my Allay video that in the second section their Allay was consistently missing. I think they said it was their fourth Allay in the series, was consistently missing items, and what I discovered is that the Allays have approximately a 3-second cooldown before picking up and tossing another item. And we did not have, whoops, that was silly. We did not have enough delay built into our circuit. The extender circuit, in quotation marks, was relying on the delay from the first section. So instead now, each section is independent and has its own specific delay, and this has eliminated the Allay's missing items. What would happen is the second item, well, let's start from the very beginning, is you would throw in a box of random items just to simulate a farm's output. We could say this is a mob farm where they drop various pieces of equipment. I know that there's not a way to get any of the netherite equipment to drop, but this will suffice for our imagination. So our items would come to the system, and they'd all come in this hopper in order. But what happens then is the dropper randomly picks one of these 9 slots when it fires, and then this dropper does the same. And you could, in theory, end up with a whole string of the same item the running down the system and getting into the second section where there was not as much delay, and if there were enough items coming all at the same time, this dropper would begin to fire pretty quickly. So the Allay might pick up the first one that shot out, and then it would miss the second one. But then as the second one went by, the Allay would be looking at it, and in looking at it, because they can see items, I think, as far as 32 blocks away from them, and it would fixate on that item while letting other similar items come down the line, and they would just ignore them. And eventually they might reset, they might not. So we have an issue, or had an issue in my old video, and I'm going to link it in the description and then possibly set that one to unlisted so it's no longer part of my general library anyways. We will see. I don't want to just throw away too many views all at once. They're pretty scarce for me being such a small channel yet. So anyways, we're going to clean this all out because wouldn't you know it, I actually ran through this whole video once before already, and apparently when I thought I had pressed record, I indeed had not. And so I got to the end and I said, "Be blessed on your next quest," and I logged off, and then nothing was complete. So we're going to come over here real quickly and revisit the old disposal. Now we have to use this one that throws things against a cactus, because if we throw our netherite stuff into lava, it doesn't work. The netherite equipment doesn't burn, it just floats in lava like it would in water, and it would eventually despawn, I assume, but this is just easier. We'll throw these things away. Also, the cat has been very affectionate, so you might hear a very enthusiastic meow. But we'll see. So, anyways, back to what we were doing. We've made sure that all of our things are clean so that when we have a demonstration here in a minute, we have everything well in hand for that demonstration. Alright, what I did want to do also is I'm going to grab this light blue wool, because this wool was a little hard to differentiate between the wool and the slabs that are holding the Allay in. If you don't know how to get the Allay into their hoppers. That will be in the listed video in the description, or perhaps in the Allay handling guide that I've posted previously. I'll link everything in the description, and you can find that out. This video is already getting too long. So, how this works. Like I said, all of these are independent of each other, and the only thing connecting them is the water stream flowing an item across ice to the next hopper. So if you wanted to repeat this design, you could go as far as 8 slices, 8 of these 3x3 slices, so 8 Allay, 8 note blocks, 8 bits of ice and glass flowing the water this way. We say that because that is the farthest that water will flow before you need a new source block. But you could watch my water stream videos to understand how water streams work. Once again, we need to stay on topic here. So, we have our dropper, and we have a hopper feeding that dropper where our items are going to be placed into the dropper. When this dropper is activated, it spits an item into this dropper facing into the water stream, where we use an upside down staircase or stair block to sort of keep the items along the one edge and closer to the Allay. It's not, I don't know that it's super necessary, but it seems to just keep things more consistent, which is very good for our Allay, who have a lot of bugs. So moving on here is we have our dropper being fed by our hopper. And through this concrete block, our comparator reads into that dropper, and it is in subtract mode, meaning it will subtract, it will get a signal from the back, and when it gets a signal from the side, it will subtract that signal strength on the side from the signal strength it gets from behind, and only output the difference, which in this case will be enough to shut off our comparator completely. So when there are items in the dropper, our comparator turns on, causing our repeaters, all 4 of them, at 4 ticks on this side to power this concrete block. And what you can do is just have the redstone dust right here being powered by the concrete block and then powering these repeaters all the way back to this redstone dust. So this redstone dust becomes our signal from the side, causing our comparator to turn off for a moment before it detects there's items still behind it, and then turning on again, causing this to cycle as long as there are items in the bottom dropper. So this redstone dust goes on, and it splits here. This is why we use glass, because when you use glass, you can allow the redstone to pass both beneath or through the game set declares it as, and downward to our target block here, which redirects our signal so that the target block is powered when our signal reaches here and fires our repeater, causing one item to go up. Then our redstone dust also goes upward and into this target block, causing this dropper to fire and put one item into the water stream. And finally, our redstone dust also powers this repeater, powering our green concrete block and all the redstone across to make all of our note blocks tone one time. We're using wool between the sections to block the sounds from reaching the other Allay, because this Allay could hear this note block and become confused, and then because it can't reach this note block, it will not drop items, and your system will break. You'll get netherite swords passing through into the hopper, and then they'll come out down here in our overflow chest that we have for demonstration purposes. So at this very end, you'll see I have a few observers and a redstone lamp, because when I built this system initially for this video, I did it on the Nintendo Switch. And the very last item, because of the way this thing fires, the very last item in this dropper would get a single signal before our cycles were shut off, and it would end up sitting in our top dropper. So this is a redundant final signal, like one last hit to our output to cause our last item to fire. So how it works is a redstone lamp, when it receives power, will stay on until the next full tick, and then it will shut off. So while it's getting signals from our comparator over there, reading our items in our dropper, it will stay on, or it will be turned on again fast enough that our observers only observe it the single time until our comparator shuts off and we lose signal to our concrete block. Our redstone lamp will stay on just long enough, and it will shut off again, which will be observed by this observer, which will be observed by this observer, firing this side of our repeaters one last time, and we have one single final firing of our system so that there are no items left in this top dropper. So it's just one last redundant bit so that we don't have any leftovers in the system. That would be important if you start to build this, 8 or 9 sections long, and something has to make it from the initial end, the output of the farm, to the very farthest allay down there. I don't know of any systems that would need that many allay, but I might just be a small thinker in that regard. So, anyways, one final thing to note is each of these repeaters is set to 4 ticks, or 0.4 seconds, one tenth of a second per space. I'm going to stop calling them ticks because ticks are actually something in the game and I don't want you to get confused. So per space, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 tenths of a second to stretch out our signal. This gives us 3.2 seconds plus whatever delay there is between the lamp and the observers. And our redstone dust doesn't have any delay. If there's power here, it's powered to the repeater up there, which only has 1/10 of a second delay right there. As I mentioned, the Allay has approximately a 3-second cooldown, so that's why we need all of this delay in our system. This becomes a very slow choke point in an item flow. So I would suggest if you have a giant amount of items coming out, use a series of chests and hoppers like this so you have a gigantic buffer for them to flow through and not back up your system too badly. So now we're going to demonstrate this before this video gets too long. Oh, I guess we're only at 12 minutes, so I can not be so worried about that. But we have all of our items. We have an extra item here as a diamond sword. We don't have an Allay that's collecting diamond swords. We're going to leave that in there so that you can see how the overflow catches things. And we don't need a duplicate of that, so throw that away. Like I said, we're going to throw that away immediately. And one final thing, just for demonstration purposes, we're going to set that on our hopper. I'm going to throw my enchanted netherite sword in there. And now you'll see which with each tone of that, we're getting a random firing, a random slot is being picked to fire the item out. Now, this top dropper is only going to have one item in it at a time, and it's happening so fast that we're not even seeing the item in there. It could be that it's being shunted, but I don't know that that's the case. At any rate, like I said, on the Switch, this required that redundant last hit to empty out the top dropper into the water stream. You can hear that these, well, you might not be able to hear, I've turned them way down, but these are set to different notes so we know which side is firing at any given time. And I put a ton of bows in that box so that we can see if we can overwhelm our one Allay picking up bows here. And it's doing fantastically. It's not missed any. If they were missed, they'd be pushed into this hopper, so the Allay is grabbing them before they're even getting close to that. To have a look at this, you see our light turns back on too quickly for it to be detrimental to our circuit here. But once we're finally emptied out, let's see, we got 3 more. And you saw that when the light turned off, our observer observed that, giving us our one last redundant strike or charge to the system. And everything is completely empty. We heard the tone stop over here, nothing in the hopper, nor this dropper or this dropper. And we should see one diamond sword in the box. Perfect. A little over half a box of bows. Yep, that's a row of 9 plus 8, as was in here. A row of 9, 4, and 4. Well done. Perfect allay sorting. Diamond boots, diamond pants, diamond chest plate, diamond hat. And for the final trick for our allay, if you give an allay a mundane version of an item, they will still pick up enchanted versions of that item. So if you have, for instance, a mob farm and zombies are dropping enchanted shovels, give one allay an iron shovel, and they will pick up all of the enchanted iron shovels along with it. We got boots, pants, chest piece, and helmet of the netherite variety. And there you have it. I apologize that I didn't get to this faster, and thank you for bringing the issue to my attention, viewer who commented about this. Let me look up just who that was real quickly. And that would be Captain Threepwood 7264. So Captain Threepwood 7264. Love the reference there to that old adventure game. I'm pretty sure that's who that was. I could be wrong, but at any rate, I am the White Sun Paladin. That is your revised perfect allay sorting system and extension. I hope you are blessed on your next quest, and I am off to my next adventure.